I don't know about you all, but it's felt to me that since the appointment of Andrea Berta, it's just kind of been like relentless transfer news. And actually, I say news and not just rumours and gossip, because actually some very reliable, very credible journalists have come out and said, yeah, Arsenal are in talks with said player, said agent. Arsenal are working on this deal. Arsenal want that player. And actually, you sit there and go, okay, this is giving me the impression that Arsenal are trying to move quite quickly with their summer business. But it has left me with some questions. And when I say questions, it's not complaints, they're just questions. I'm curious. I want to ask the questions here and love to know what you all think in the comment section below. Before I go into the questions, I'm going to tell you why it's left me with questions by showing you the kind of list of news that we've been seeing, aggregating it all together, and actually hopefully you'll get a sense for why I've been put in a slightly confused position. So I want to show you this from David Ornstein first. It was the news that Arsenal developing strong interest in Gyokeres. But look what he says here. Andrea Berta, firm admirer of the 26-year-old forward and maybe more realistic than Isak. Ben Jacobs has then gone on to say that he'd be a similar price Gyokeres to Benjamin Sesko. That is crucial to know why, because this, which was aggregated by Peak Sanity Online, crediting Gunnerblog, says that Mikel Arteta reportedly favours Isak, while Berta leans towards Gyokeres, while Edu's team were working on Benjamin Sesko. You see where the confusion's starting to creep in? Mikel Arteta, of course he loves Isak, we all love Isak. Gyokeres, I mean, I've said for a while, I even said on the day that he was announced, before we were even linked to Gyokeres, the day that Berta was announced, I said, it wouldn't surprise me if he went for that kind of guy. It feels like a very Atletico signing, but we know that Edu's team's been working on Sesko, not just in January when we tried to bring that signing forward, but also in last summer when we tried to sign him at first. So there's kind of three entities who all need to agree on this deal. Then you've got the Kroenkes and everyone above, and already they feel like they may be pulling slightly different directions. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Challenge is good, but something to notice. Moving on, Florian Plettenberg lets us know that Sane could be joining on a free contract, or as a free agent, because Arsenal are seriously interested in signing him, depending on whether Bayern Munich decide to re-sign him as well. But concrete talks have already taken place, according to the Sky Germany journalist. And Ed Aarons has also told us Arsenal exploring a move for Bilbao's Nico Williams. We've known this, but Berta has apparently held talks with the Spain's forward representatives as one of the first acts as the club's sporting director. So that's quite big news. Add to all that this about Zubimendi and Gyokeres, that Berta wants to sign Gyokeres as well as Zubimendi, which is interesting because you would use that they're not the same player. One's more a 6, one's more an 8, but Gyokeres can play as a 6, so there are some similarities there. Could you go get both? And then we know that we've been linked to Simmons via Fabrizio Romano. That Cunha we wanted in January has a release clause, has said he wants to leave Wolves, and Watkins, well, supposedly it was a dream move of his to come to Arsenal, and we've signed him in January, or tried to sign him in January, sorry. So you pull all this together, and my brain goes, okay, let's make sense of this all, because it has left me with 4 big questions, which I'm going to ask right here. My questions ahead of the summer window are, who has the final say? And we're going to explore that in more detail in a second, but I bet you're all kind of pondering that as well right now. Yeah, I mean, who hits the green button? I mean, who's the one who says yes or no at the end of all this? Do the transfers affect each other? How crucial are outgoings? And is Arteta willing to adapt? These are my 4 big questions as I see all these different transfer stories and reports come together. And I'll show you why by starting with that first one. Who has the final say? Now I want to show you this. It's Andrea's selected forwards from Andrea Berta when he was at Atletico Madrid. It's a Sky Sports graphic. And they can hit the pause button, but I mean, a general reflection on all this is they spent too much on Felix, but they're clearly willing to invest in that position. Alvarez, that was a lot of money, people didn't get it at the time, but he started really well at Atletico. Diego Costa, Antoine Griezmann, obviously been successes. No questions around Luis Suarez. Cunha, 22 million, not the worst, but actually got a lot of money for it, so you could say that worked because of the resale value, even if he wasn't sort of a long-term sort of successor at Atletico Madrid. So you can look at those in different ways. You can even add to that David Villa, for example, Sorloth, other players that he has signed in the attacking areas for Atletico Madrid. But the one thing you know about Atletico is they've always prioritised the forward line, make sure they're strikers, make sure they're goal scorers, supplying Diego Simeone with some reliable 9s or at least forwards that were going to bring goals and big moments who are big players. So Andrea Berta is used to building a team around the idea that the 9 and the forward position is very, very important. When you compare that to Mikel Arteta and his use of forwards, or the forwards that he has prioritised, because a lot of you won't like this graphic that I'm about to show you, but what I want to try and depict It's how Arteta sees his forwards and how he's kind of used them over his time at Arsenal. And in this list, I've got Arteta's used, signed, or targeted players as forwards at Arsenal. And in this list, you can hit the pause button if you want to go through them. But if I pass some comment on them, Saka and Martinelli, two of the most successful ones. They've done it over 2-3 years. Saka's been much better than Martinelli for the last year or two, don't get me wrong. But Martinelli's largely been quite good. Certainly someone that I think we're all comfortable with having as part of the squad, even for at least another season. Waneri, brilliant. What a talent. But he's kind of used him more in midfield. Gabby Jesus, maybe because of the injury, hasn't felt like he's had a long-term future at Arsenal for a while. Kai Havertz, on as a box-to-box midfielder, number 8, actually doing a job up front for us. Leandro Trossard, very much a squad player. They pivoted from another target, but he's done okay, but never felt like he's really kind of been that cemented first team player for Arsenal under Mikel Arteta. You then got Eddie Nketiah. I think he persisted way too long with Eddie, but he saw something in him, and actually Eddie across 3 seasons played quite a lot of important football when we were challenging for 2 titles and trying to get Champions League football. Mikel Merino, okay, probably harsh for me to put him in this list, but actually at the time we are in now, where Trossard's back, Raheem Sterling was signed, you got Saka back, you got Martinelli back, you got Waneri playing, he's still opting to go for Mikel Merino as a striker, and look, he's doing quite well. To be fair, that one is probably looking like a good shout with the goals he's scoring. I still feel a bit uncomfortable with it. Raheem Sterling, we maybe can't even put down Mikel Arteta as a signing the way he's used him. Clearly Arteta's not a fan, but still one that's come in under Mikel Arteta. And then Mykhailo Mudryk and Nico Williams have been 2 that have been targeted. Williams we've persisted with for a long time, not been able to get it done, haven't really gone for other players because we haven't been able to get Williams. And Mykhailo Mudryk, look, maybe he'd have banged at Arsenal. Maybe it's just the environment at Chelsea. I don't know. But he hasn't looked anything like a player that we should have spent £80 million on. And that gives me concern too. When I look at that overall list, it can feel very manipulated, me presenting that list in that way to present a certain argument. But what I'm trying to say is, Berta's track record in terms of what he views a squad needing in terms of forwards, to me, is more encouraging than Arteta's list, if I'm really honest. From the players he's used, to the players he's developed in a certain way, to the players he's targeted. I have to be honest, I have some doubts. I think the forward area might be a bit of a blind spot for Arteta. What he does defensively, in terms of structure, some of the football we can play under Mikel is brilliant. And there's some success stories in there. Bukayo Saka is becoming an absolute superstar under Arteta. Jesus, when he first arrived, looked like a stroke of genius, and the knee injury might just have had a long-term effect that Arteta can do nothing about. But there are players in that list that you can understand why I have real questions over. So my question is, who has the final say? When all is said and done, and actually the question is, we can get Isak for 130 million, but we could get Gyokeres for 60. Who wins? Or you don't get Isak, but you know what? Arteta prefers Sesko. Both for 60 million. Sesko, Gyokeres. Who says yes? Who gets the final decision? I'm really, really curious about this. At the moment, I would like that to actually fall on Andrea Berta. If he's your sporting director, if he's the guy we're looking at to do the recruitment, let's let him have the final say. And that kind of leads me to my last question. We won't fast forward just yet, but it's a big one for me, that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Who has the final say in all this? I'd love to know your thoughts, and I've tried to give some evidence as to why I lean towards Andrea Berta, but maybe that's just recency bias, and perhaps I should be giving Mikel Arteta a bit more credit. My next question was, and we'll go through these ones a bit more quickly because they're not as big as the first one, but the one I'm about to ask now is, do the transfers affect each other? So, I've got here a possible combination of Arsenal signings. For example, if you got Isak and Sane, that's around £130 million. Why would you get a Sane on a free transfer when you're looking at Nico Williams? Is it because Isak would cost around £130 million? But if you don't get Isak, you don't necessarily maybe need to sign Sane as a free transfer, because you could get Gyokeres and Williams for around 115. If Gyokeres really is available for around 60 million, if Williams is around a 50 to 55 million pound deal, is there a toss up there? Do Arsenal ask themselves, well, do we want maybe a second choice striker and a first choice winger, or do we want a free transfer as a winger just to do a job because we've got others who can actually play in his place, but we get our first choice number 9? That would be interesting. Maybe even get a Sesko, but you then get a Williams and a Gyokeres because you've really strengthening midfield and on the wing, and Sesko, who's the kind of more slightly undeveloped striker, more raw, more potential there, but around £170 million, you've addressed 3 positions, and what you've also got is real kind of strength and quality in midfield out on the wing. Kai Havertz and Jesus will return at some point. I don't know, but I guess it goes back to the question I'm asking, do the transfers affect each other? I'd be interested to know, and that kind of leads on to the third one. Are outgoings crucial? Do we have to sell a Trossard or a Martinez to get a Nico Williams? Do we have to have not renewed Partey and Jorginho to get Zubimendi? I mean, all these things, I'm wondering, how crucial is it that players leave for us to actually go and get some of these, some of these targets that we're reportedly linked to? And kind of linked to the first one, but my final question is Arteta willing to adapt? The Canon did this video and it was titled Victor Gyokeres is not right for Arsenal, and it's a really good video. Go watch it, but it sparked some really good conversation in the comment section and online too. Gyokeres isn't perhaps a perfect fit for Arsenal. You can all make your decision on that. I personally slightly disagree with the guys. I think he's someone that could be slightly more suited, but I can't pretend I've scouted him anywhere near as much as Alex and George did. So go watch that video because they make some good arguments. But even if he's not quite right, could Arteta adapt to a Gyokeres? Because he is someone who has proven he can score goals, whether it be in the Championship or in the Portuguese League. Does that necessarily translate to the Premier League? Maybe not directly, but this is a guy who's born to score goals. Can Arteta adapt his tactics to get the best out of a Gyokeres, or adapt his targets to get the his tactics to get the best out of an Isak? Or I don't know. Could you play with a Nico Williams as a false 9 at times, if it means that actually that's your marquee sign, you can't quite get the striker you want that's ready right now, and Sesko's going to take more time? I don't know, but my question in all this is, can Arteta adapt to whoever we bring in, or crucially, whoever Berta brings in? Because if Berta is the guy who's going to have the final say, Arteta might have to do a little bit of tinkering to his tactics to adapt to the fact there's someone else with a voice there who wants to get a certain calibre of player in. These are my questions. I'd love to know what you make of the questions. I'd love to know if you have any other questions around our summer business. Let me know in the comment section below. And if you haven't yet, go subscribe to the Goonerverse too, where we are covering all this and all the transfer stuff in real time. Team news too. Any news around Arsenal that's coming out that isn't like big headline shattering news, but obviously we'll go live here on the Goonerverse. All that extra stuff we will cover on the Goonerverse too. So go check it out. And like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below around everything I've discussed right here.